Welcome back to the Your Girl Yaz podcast, the podcast to listen to if you're a female entrepreneur who's ready to attract more fun, more money, success, friendships, and amazing clients into your business. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I can add some more positivity into your day in this episode. Hello girls, welcome back to another episode on the Your Girl Yaz podcast. I have a very, very special episode this week. I have got one of my lovely, lovely friends. I have Michelle on the podcast. She is a relationship trauma coach and she has made such a big impact in my world so far. I was so lucky that she came on my last retreat and did a talk with all of the girls around narcissistic behaviour, around trauma, and just her passion and her love for helping other girls has had such a big impact on me. And I know she's sat here, so I'm going to introduce her. So welcome, Michelle.
Hi, hello. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your lovely, kind words. You have equally had an impact on me, so thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. Honestly, I feel like we did the same coaching course, so we kind of were connected from that world, and I feel like we just had such an amazing connection. Like we were like just become like really good friends from it, didn't we? It was so nice.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been amazing, and I learn a lot from you as well. So it's just a really nice space to be in.
Oh, amazing. Honestly, it is so lovely. I mean, me and Michelle actually recorded an episode a while ago and it didn't quite work out. There was tech issues, something happened, and it just makes me so happy that we get to have this space again because Michelle does have such an inspiring story. Like she is such a pure heart. She has been through so much and has really turned all of her experiences and everything she's been through into helping other girls go through the same. So it'd be really nice, first of all, for you to explain a little bit about what you do and how you help other girls.
Of course. So, as Yaz mentioned, I'm a relationship trauma coach, and I help women who are in recurring cycles of attracting narcissists and toxic individuals. And of course, the goal is to help them break these patterns. But one of the things that we do focus on is identifying what patterns have been developed throughout their lives that have influenced these kinds of relationships. And that's what's really important, because I think a lot of the time these patterns that we've developed, we perceive these behaviors as that's who we are, this is our identity. And it's really about separating that, and just recognizing that behaviors can be changed and you can create a new identity. And I love to call it survivor identity, because these relationships that we experience, it takes a lot to get through them, and if you can, then you are a survivor, you're not a victim. And that's just what I love, just pumping into women as much as I can, that that's where we want to get to.
Yeah, I honestly think for me, I love the mindset work, but the empowering woman work, I don't know, there's just not a feeling like it, is it? Being able to help women actually stop beating themselves up and stop feeling like they're the problem and that they're, it shouldn't be here, and it can just take you on such a journey. And I guess what meaning does it have to you being able to help other women in this space?
Oh, it's just incredible. I think I wish that I had me when I was experiencing what I went through. And I think back when I was experiencing the relationships I'd been in, there was barely anything about narcissism or toxic relationships. And now it's amazing because there's so much education out there, and I do think it's great. However, at the same time, I do think that we can over educate ourselves on other people's behaviors, which avoid us looking at our own behaviors. And that is one of the biggest keys to breaking free from these cycles, is being able to look at yourself and take accountability. And I'm just massive on that. And, a lot of people do shy away from it, because why do you want to take accountability for pain? Nobody wants to take accountability for being hurt. But in order for you to break away, and, one of the biggest things that I do focus on with my clients as well is being content with who you are, being content as a single woman, because that to me is freedom. So that's, kind of what sorry, I've kind of gone off track there, and sorry, Leah, but if we could...
No, 100%. And this is what I mean. I think it just unravels the way it's meant to unravel. And I am so intrigued to go into your sort of deeper story into why, because
Hmm.
I do believe a lot of people that are helping heal other people's traumas, there's a deeper rooted reason why. And I
Hmm.
feel like with you, it's it's very close to your heart, and every time I talk to you it just opens up my heart as well, and just makes me want to give you the biggest hug. So if you feel comfortable sharing your story, I feel like it will really help a lot of girls that do listen.
Yeah, of course. So I've been in a kind of a repetitive cycle of attracting certain types of individuals probably since I started liking boys,
Mhm.
probably the age from 12, when I started to think I need a boyfriend. I think a lot of millennials are on the back of this generation where we feel that our goal in life should be getting married and having children.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what I had ingrained in me, that I needed a boyfriend. Not only that, I grew up in a really volatile, kind of toxic household, and my mum was in a really toxic relationship. But up until I was, about 13, my understanding was that it was an abusive relationship, and there's a strong difference between the two.
Mhm.
But it was a toxic relationship, and growing up in that kind of environment, I hugely lacked nurturing. I wasn't told how to, regulate my emotions. I was rejected if I was showing certain emotions. I was a very angry child, and just very rejected because they had their own relationship to deal with. And if people who listen to this, how difficult it is to deal with your own relationship, imagining having kids in the mix as well. And I was
Mhm.
one of those kids. And growing up, when I was younger, there was we form attachments to our parents, right? And in order for us to survive, we have to maintain these attachments. And if, for example, I am showing that I'm angry, showing some sort of emotion, and I'm dismissed or I'm punished, I'm then going to suppress those emotions, and then I'm going to do whatever it is I can to keep that attachment with my parents in order for me to survive. Yeah.
Mhm.
And as I've grown to adult relationships, these behaviors and patterns that I've learned have developed into like people pleasing
Yeah.
and the fear of abandonment, and, just wanting and needing to be loved in order for me to feel good enough. So as I started liking men, as I said, when I was about 12, I had an unhealthy attachment with someone who sexually abused me.
Mhm.
And it was my first ever sexual experience. So I didn't really understand what had gone on. And after that experience had happened, I immediately, my response was to go and tell people about it. Not because I wanted attention or because I wanted him to get in trouble, but I couldn't believe that someone liked me.
Okay.
And I guess it was, wow, this person really likes me. Wow, like someone does love me. This could be it, kind of thing. And it took me probably about 3 years to break that attachment with him. And I think, again, it falls back onto the attachment I have with my parents, attachment that have with men. It's called an anxious attachment, and I know that I've had that for many, many years. That took me, say, 3 years to kind of break out of, and I became really obsessed with him. Really just
Mhm.
like I need him, and I carved his name in my arm with a knife, and loads of shit went on during that time as well. um, I was called a liar because people didn't believe me. I lost a lot of friends. I had family members that also went against me as well. So it was a very difficult time in my life, and it had caused me an immense amount of trauma,
Mhm.
um, because I was very, isolated. And this again seems to be a repetitive, pattern that's gone on throughout my life. After I kind of detached myself from him, I then met somebody else, and again, obsessed, became attached. He showed an interest in me. This was when I was like 15, 16. Again, took me like 3 to 4 years to get over him just because he showed me a little bit of attention, and I was just like crazy, just like, I need love, I need it, I need it. When I was 18, I then had my first healthy relationship. And, I have a lot to thank him for because he was the first and only person in my life that's ever shown me kind of what love is. And unfortunately, that just didn't work out because I wasn't ready to settle down. I was 18, I just wasn't ready for that kind of relationship. And I fell out of love with him and went traveling, and that's what I'd done. When I split up with my partner, I went traveling, I came home and I met somebody else. And I trusted him because we had kind of connections, like family connections. And yeah, I just had trust in him. I knew that what he was about. He wasn't really for me. I openly admitted that I didn't fancy him in that way. And I just really cared about him. We had a really good friendship. I'd refer to him as my brother. And for many people who don't really understand kind of what narcissists are like, they have one goal and one goal only, and they're very ego driven, and they want what they want, and they won't stop until they get it. And I guess when I was setting these types of boundaries, like, he would often tell me that he loved me all the time, like every day. He would message me saying, I love you, we're meant to be together. And I would say, like, no, you're like a brother to me. No, 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 no. And anyway, he didn't like that. And what he then began to do was to slowly kind of emotionally manipulate me and really kind of bring me in close, like really speak about our trauma and make out that he kind of really understood me. And I never spoke to anybody about my trauma before. He was the first person that I spoke to about it. And for me, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I've got someone who really understands me. And that's what he used to say, like, I understand you. Nobody understands like me like I do you, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, he's so right. Like, wow, wow, wow. And I still hadn't given in at that point, but he was basically working on me so that I kind of depended on him, that I needed him, that I felt like he was the only person for me that understood me. And, all that time where I'd been saying, no, 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 he did manage to break me down. And I started to believe that I loved him when I didn't love him. He just convinced me that I did love him. And this is how these people work. And that went on. I fell in love with this man, love. And I was attached to him for 6 years. And during that 6 year, there would be intense like highs and lows. He would telling me I'm the most amazing woman in the world and that he's never met anyone like me before. And then a week later, he would not talk to me. He'd give me the silent treatment. He would say that I'm shit at this or shit at that. It would just be it was constant all the time for 6 years. And I was just like his little puppet. Anything he wanted me to do, just so I could get that validation from him again. It was just constantly, I just got into a space where I needed him. And this is where the trauma bond was formed. Yeah, it's called a trauma bond, where there's this like push and pull dynamic. You have this intense like dependency on this person. And it just blows my mind that that's what they're capable of doing. So that was that experience with him. It really was like life changing for me. He completely ruined the person that I was. He completely ruined my career. And I'm having to still deal with the effects of what he's done, probably till this day, because I have a lot of triggers, I have a lot of reminders. I'm able to manage them a lot better now, but he has really like marked a stamp on my life, should I say. And when I go into new relationships, there's always going to be constant reminders about what he done to me, and just in terms of like my self-worth and my self-esteem, and it just all completely was shattered from what he done. And when I left that situation, I started educating myself on narcissism. I just thought, wow, that is a once in a lifetime experience. That I'm never going to experience anything like that ever again. And I did. 2 years later, I attracted another narcissist. And I thought, the funniest thing is about this is that obviously when I'd educated myself on narcissism, it was like the red flags. You had no boundaries. His ex-girlfriend was crazy. And I'm like, yeah, he used to say that. And you got a mental note of all of these things. So then when I met somebody else, the red flags were there. He told me his ex-girlfriend was crazy. He called me crazy. Like all this stuff, everything was there. But in my brain, I was like, I'm just being overly cautious. I'm just being sensitive. I still need someone to love me and to validate me and to let me know that I'm not the problem. And yeah, I was seeing him for 2 years. He stole thousands of pounds off me. He was manipulating and gaslighting me for years. And he was a gross person. So I thought, that's not going to happen again. So then I met somebody else, and he
Oh
wasn't
gosh.
narcissistic. But my issue here is that, well, this is why I have a really big no dating rule, is
Hmm.
that this is why you should not be dating until you have healed parts of you that really need addressed. And this point, I'd experienced two narcissists that had taken up 8 years of my life. My self worth, self esteem, my identity, my boundaries, nothing was there. Yeah. I was just living and dating to feel validated and to feel loved. And I met this guy on a date and I was over analyzing, like, is this actually I'm crazy? I was doing all that. And I actually went to speak about narcissists to him because I have this thing. Well, I used to have this thing where I like to trauma dump on a first date, which I don't do anymore. Which is one number one things that I really help my clients not do because no. And I started to trauma dump on this date, and he went, "We don't need to talk about that now." And I was like, "Wow, green flag, green flag, green flag." Yeah. So I was instantly, "Oh, I love him. We're gonna be together," and just fantasizing about him, etc. And then after 6 months of seeing each other, he ghosted me. And I found out that he had a baby that he knew about, and there was all of these just like lies that came out. I don't know if you know about that page, Are We Dating the Same Guy, on
Yeah, my friend
Facebook.
showed it to me the other day.
We need to do a whole different podcast about that because I have so much to say.
Oh my
But
god.
he was on that page, and even after I saw him, I still wanted him.
Hmm.
I still had this. It's like I knew that he was troubled. I knew that he was going through a lot, and I'm like, I can fix you. I can make you better. Just stay with me, and you can be a good person. That's my anxious attachment. Please don't abandon me. I will do everything, even though he's an asshole. He's disrespectful. The common theme here is that I could not let go of these people that were disrespectful to me and hurt me.
Hmm.
And that's the common theme I see with everyone that I work with. We all come from very similar backgrounds. We all have very similar relationship experiences. And the hardest part is letting go because we don't want to be abandoned. And we will people please and we'll do everything we can just to avoid those feelings. But we're just saying to be disrespected and, we're being abandoned in other ways, emotionally and physically, So it's a lot. So that's kind of a little bit of my life and my dating scene up until I've been about 30 years old. And the biggest turning point for me was I was in a really, really bad way after the last guy I was seeing. He wasn't narcissistic, but he had issues. And I stopped eating and I was really punishing myself. And I just thought, I cannot. What is going on here? I've got so many good friends. Like, I've got people around me who tell me they love me all the time and that I'm great and I'm amazing. Why is it when it comes to relationships, this keeps happening? And that was like the biggest turning point. Like, I just really started being more curious about what is going on here. What is this pattern? Like, rather than this victim mindset of why me? Why am I not enough? What am I doing wrong? Because these are the constant questions I would ask myself all the time. And it was just like, why is this happening? Really reflecting, like, what is
Yeah.
it? What is it that I need to change? Because this isn't a coincidence that this keeps happening now. Like, and I think you really, like I said to you at the beginning, you really have to have the courage to self-reflect and take accountability. It's so, so important.
Mm.
And then from there, I just learned so, 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 so much about myself. And I feel more confident than ever that I know exactly the type of man that I'm looking for. I know exactly what I won't settle for. I don't go on dates now like with mental notes of like red flags in my head. Like, it will just be, I know what I'm looking for. I know how to set boundaries. I know how to communicate. And if I feel like someone doesn't align with me, then I feel like more powerful than ever to walk away from that. Whereas
Hmm.
before it's like, no, please don't, please don't, please love me. I don't need anyone to love me because I love myself so much, I think there's a want, but there's not a need like there has been my whole life.
Mm.
Um, so yeah.
I feel like I have so much to like. There's so many emotions that come with your story because
Mm,
a lot of me wants to go back to that young girl who
Hmm.
first off like just wanted that love and maybe didn't feel that love growing up and had to just get by and try to cope, and then going on to 12-year-old you for the first time. Like, if you could go back to that first version of you that was, dating for the first time or got that attention, what would you like to say to that version of you?
I think when I was that age, it's difficult because I wasn't looking for anything at that age. That came to
Mm,
me. I don't know if I would have been prepared to. I don't know. It's really difficult because obviously with the
mm,
guy, that we had the sexual abuse with, the encounter with, like, there was no lead up to that. That was a surprise. So I always wonder, like, did that trigger me into wanting men? You just don't know. I don't really know, but
yeah.
I think I would say to myself that it's a hard question, and you
Mm,
always get me with these
yeah.
questions.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, like, the first words that come to my mind was like, I literally would want to wrap you up in bubble wrap and protect you, and like just,
Yeah, if I was me now looking at,
yeah,
yeah, oh my God, I would hold on tight and do everything I could just to, I think one of the biggest things, a lot of people always say to me, "You're such an angry child. Why are you such an angry child?" And I'm like, why are you not trying to understand
yeah,
why I was an angry child? There's a reason why I have all these emotions. I was
mm,
so angry up until I was a teenager, and everyone was just like, "She's angry." It's like people like put you down because of it, and there's never an understanding as to why you're so angry.
yeah.
So yeah, I would literally like pick her up. I would take her to Thailand, and I would homeschool her on the beach.
Ooh, welcome
That's
with
what
my
I would
little
do.
younger self. Oh, imagine if we could all just like, don't know, just have like our little younger selves and like take them on a trip.
It'd be amazing. It'd be absolutely amazing.
I would
Give them
love
some life lessons.
that. Teach them who to punch in the face.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel so honoured that you are so open and like, feel, because I know it's really not easy, especially when,
Mm,
you're putting yourself out there and it's like putting all of the things that have been so hard in your life. And I think the thing that I find really just so hard is the length of time, the length of your life you've had to sort of spend in that, you know, mentality where people, are taking advantage and they're treating you like this. And, I can't even imagine how many hours you've spent not feeling good enough. And it just breaks
mm.
my heart because how many other girls, and you probably know a lot around this, like how many other girls are feeling like this. And I guess what advice would you have for other girls that can really relate to your story?
Hmm. Well, I think it's funny because I thought I was, when I got to 30, that I'd spent enough of my time, going through all of this, and eventually everyone will get to a point where they've had enough and they want to self-reflect and look at themselves. And one of my clients, she's nearly 60 years old,
Hmm.
and she's gone through her whole life in this cycle, and just think, like you say, like believing and being conditioned to believe that she's stupid and that she's not good enough. And my advice would be is that, number one, please stop dating. Number two,
Okay. Hmm.
please stop dating. It's my biggest. If these patterns keep occurring and relationships aren't working out, you have to stop dating. Like, it's super super important. But the problem is with that is that when you really need validation, but you have to identify that. Look at your patterns. Look at your own behaviors.
Hmm.
And really connect with yourself,
Hmm.
because you craving validation from men isn't right. It's not healthy, you know?
I really have an interesting question here. It's not one that's gonna it's not one that's gonna feel like, oh. Okay, so if someone can really relate to this now and it comes to like, oh my gosh, I wanna go on those dates, I'm craving that validation, what other ways could they get validation?
Very, very good question. So I think first of all, it's understanding, like, what is it that I think first of all, what are they craving from men?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it that they want to feel good enough, they want to feel pretty or whatever? Is it that they want to be taken out on dates because they're seeing all these things on social media?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because they believe that they should be at a certain place in their life right now? They believe they should be married, they believe they should have kids. You know, what is it that you're what is this validation for? Is it because your all your friends are engaged or married and have kids and you
Mm-hmm.
don't, therefore you feel like a failure? You know, so it's really uncovering what is that validation for, you know. And I think once you identify what that is, then you can pour love and effort into you learning how to validate yourself. And for example, if it's the way you look, you want to feel, you know, that someone's sexually attracted to you, you know, it's us, you know, really diving into what you love about yourself and all that kind of stuff, and making you love what you look like and who you are. If
Yeah.
it's that you want marriage and kids and babies, etc., you know, what can we do with your life until those things happen? What else can you achieve? What else can you do? Because right now, that's not working. And what we say is rejection means redirection. So where is it redirecting you to? You know, it's really about uncovering all these other bits in your life and trying to change your focus slightly. You know, like I said, we all, there's this strange goal that we have, that we have
Yeah.
to have a boyfriend to feel good enough. And I'm like, no. You know, I'm the biggest advocate for sending girls on solo trips. I send a lot of my clients on solo trips and I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. Like, it's, they're all, oh no, I'll never be confident to do that. And I'm like, you're fucking going on a solo trip. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing it. And they all go and they love it. And, you know, solo trips saved my life. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it helps you, you're on your own, you've got to survive on your own, and it shows you how resilient you are in those situations. So massive advocate things that I know I'm going off there, but yeah.
No, this is so good because I just think so many people can relate, and this is really powerful for all women because I do think a lot of women at some stage, we all criticize ourselves, and I think when it comes to the boyfriend topic, and even for people in relationships they're unhappy in and aren't, they're still feeling that void, still feeling like they're not good enough, and like that they should
Mm,
have the you could be in a relationship and be like, oh, but I need the marriage, I need the kids, like all of this stuff. And I just love the idea of solo trips because they've been something for me that have really opened up
mhm,
just a lot in general. And I
mhm,
wanted to ask, like, things like dating apps, like it is that dopamine, it is that sort of like, oh, I'm going to get this validation, but I feel like it can actually leave you feeling quite empty, because it's just this like conveyor belt. So when it comes to people, like you say, I felt like that was a really good example of the solo trips, and I really want to dive deeper into other ways. Like, instead of validating yourself through dating apps, how
mm.
could you use that time instead?
Well, one of my clients is actually experiencing this at the moment, where she's got this the boredom, and boredom has a lot to do with it. And
Yeah.
she says, when I'm bored, I just go for a swipe,
Yeah.
and then she's just chatting away. So it's almost like replacing that boredom as well. So not just solo trips. And I said to her, you know, what is it? I said, do you go out often on your own? Like, do you, I don't know, go for a walk somewhere, go for a long drive? Do you go for somewhere to eat? She said, I've never eaten anywhere on my own in my life. Like, and
Mm.
I'm like, well, let's do it then. Let's take yourself out on a date. Like, go out. Let's do it. You know,
Yeah.
'cause a lot of time we're going on dating apps because we want to be taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want that validation. We want someone to treat us right, and it's like, you're not ready. My client, she's not ready. She's not in that space right now. She's very much kind of focusing on herself.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just about her, you know, the way that she wants to be treated. She needs to treat herself. And that's something that I really ingrain into my girls, because it's so, so important. Because no one's gonna, if you don't know how to treat yourself, you cannot expect someone else to treat you that way. And I always say it, if you don't attract it because you can't match it. That's
Mm.
what I like to say, because it's so true.
I love that. That just took me a minute to take that in.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, exactly. And it is that, like, we talk a lot about mirrors, but if you're not doing these things for yourself, like, I was having a phone call last night, and we were talking about like going out for dinner. And to be honest, I was like, to be fair, I don't really go out for dinners, but I'm more of a coffee person. I'll take myself a coffee date. So it's like just finding what works for you. Now, I feel like that was so powerful and so exciting. And I feel like it'd be really nice to share examples because I even hearing your story about your client that was in her 60s and now gets to live her life, like, I think that makes a lot of us happy. And, you know, some people might have their mums in those situations. So it'd be really nice if you could, like, talk about how you've helped clients and how it's even changed their lives so people can see the other side.
Yeah, it's been amazing because I get to help clients kind of in different parts of their journey.
Hmm.
And I've got a variety of people who are kind of at the start of their journey where they've decided to go no contact and they're taking that first step. And for those who are listening, probably know how really difficult it is going no contact when you're in an abusive relationship or toxic relationship. So
Hmm.
um, I literally love women who come to me for no contact stuff, because just having that support there, having someone validate your experience,
Hmm.
and having someone kind of help you understand what it is that you're going through is, I'd say, a key part of kind of guiding you through and out of these kind of relationships. So that's kind of the very first start of the journey that I really love supporting women on. And I wish for my own sake that I had someone guiding me through no contact, and I had someone validating me and telling me, I understand what you've experienced. This is what gaslighting means. This is what manipulation means. This is the abuse cycle, really educating them rather than going through social media, seeing a post that you relate to, liking it, and just getting on with your day. It's like
Hmm.
regularly checking in. How are you feeling? Um, you know, and a lot of the times around with no contact, there comes with a lot of guilt. Women experience, they feel guilty for going no contact. So and that's something that we really have to tackle, and usually the guilt makes us want to go back. So that's part of the journey that I love working with. And for anyone who is struggling with no contact, I'm your
I was
girl.
I was gonna say, because even like someone, not someone like me, but like, what does the term no contact mean?
So no contact means you are no longer engaging or communicating with an individual who is causing pain in your life.
Hmm.
It is one of the hardest things to do, and it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of strength, not only to do it the first time, but to not go back. And I think that's, as I say, when there's this huge level of guilt that come because you feel bad for going no contact because this person makes you feel guilty, or they might say that you're crazy, and you've grown a trauma bond. You're in a trauma bond with them. You're dependent on them to make you feel good. That's what a trauma bond is. It the only person that can make you feel better is the person that's hurting you. And
Okay.
yeah, and it's and so going no contact is like, I feel like shit, all I need is him, but he's hurting me, so it's that push and pull. So yeah, it's one of the hardest things to have to do.
Yeah.
But everyone who I've worked with has absolutely honestly smashed it. There's not one person that has gone back after the first round of no contact, which is so big. Like, honestly, it's just so huge, and it just shows just having that support there, and someone just being your cheerleader, and saying you can do this is amazing, and after the no contact, there was quite a journey to still go
Hmm.
through after that, but that is like the first hurdle.
Hmm.
And then, as I say, I've had clients who are at stages in their life where they might have had a narcissistic relationship 2 or 3 years ago, and they're
Hmm.
going back in the dating world, and everyone who's not a narcissist is a green flag, and it's like, just because he's not abusive and because he might be showing certain green flags doesn't mean that he's actually for you. And it's about us really understanding, like, what are our values? Who is it that we really want?
Yeah.
So what are our values? What are our beliefs? Like, what do we need now that's going to keep us safe? Because I think during all of these relationships, we've been never made to feel safe. And this
Hmm.
is why really understanding what your attachment style is, identifying your triggers, learning how to manage them, making sure that you know how to communicate when you've been triggered, and setting boundaries. They're like the most important things in order for you to attract someone who is going to keep you safe and who truly aligns with you. So I do a lot of work with clients who are kind of on their journey to start dating again. But as I say, they are not allowed to date whilst they work with me.
Honestly, I feel like it's just I just feel like so many people need this in their life. And like, I think I just take myself back to times where I've been in having that no self-worth and not loving myself, and like everything depends on that person, and like putting all my self-worth into them, and like it's just such a heartbreaking journey when you take yourself back to that version of you that, just couldn't even wake up, like couldn't even smile unless that person said something nice to them, and it's really hard. I really wanted to talk about like the green flags, red flags scenario, because I feel like it's really nice to actually bring up like what would we say are the most common red flags and what would we say are the most common green flags. I feel like out of anyone I'd ever want to ask, it would be you to ask this question.
Right, so firstly, I need to say this, and I wanted to do content about it because red flags these days I actually find really insulting because everyone says that everything is a red flag. You
Yeah.
know, I've seen, this page again, this "Are we dating the same guy?" I see all sorts. I see women show it screenshotting from Hinge or something. They post it on that page, and the guy might have messaged them and just said like, "Oh, I want to, like, you're really fit, like I'd love to have sex with you," or something. And
Okay.
she's like, "Red flag," and I'm like, "That's not a red flag. That is someone telling you exactly what he's looking for, exactly what he wants. It's not. It's you. It just doesn't align with you. You just don't
Mhm.
want that." That's not a red flag. That's not a sign of someone who is trying to be manipulative or controlling. That's someone saying, "This is all we're going to do." And things like that, like everything is. I saw someone say that someone asked them to go for a coffee. Red flag. And I'm like,
What?
what? Because she wants to go out for a 3-course meal, fine dining. Yeah, it doesn't align with her, and it's gone completely out of control.
It's like red flag
Um,
or icks, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, oh,
Um, it is, it's so, icks are just a completely different ball game, aren't they? I think some icks we have to try and get over. I know I've probably got my own icks, I don't even know what they are, but I'm sure I have. To be clear, red flags are early warning signs of abusive, controlling, and manipulative behaviour. So, very early warning signs can be something like really into you very early on. So, you're the most amazing person I've ever met. I've been waiting for someone like you. You're too good for a girl like me. When they say things like that, believe them. Yeah, if he's saying to you, "You're too good for a girl like me," believe what he's saying to you, because he's basically saying that I'm a fucking arsehole. I've got issues, So just listen out for those really small cues. And I think my ex-girlfriend's crazy. I mean, that's just a classic.
yeah.
If anyone says to you their ex-girlfriend is crazy, then the first few dates you meet them, you need to remove yourself kindly.
And how would you go about like if you heard that? Because I think it's I like when you fall into the nice girl category or like people pleasing, and you have someone giving you attention and then saying all these nice things, how would you go about cutting that off?
So I think this is why not dating is really important in
Yeah.
these, unless you're ready in this kind of area, because you have to have boundaries, and you have to have boundaries with yourself, and you have to know that you're good enough. You don't need a man telling you that you're the most beautiful person in the world after the first, second date, because you already know that. So
Hmm.
you're looking for something deeper. You're looking for something more. You're looking for someone to add value in your life in a different way, because you already know you're all this amazing thing. You know that what you have to offer.
Hmm.
So that's what, these people pleasing and, being kind of allowing, say, for example, you feel uncomfortable that, say, for example, he said his ex-girlfriend was crazy. This was me. If I went on a date right now and someone said his ex-girlfriend was crazy, I think I'd laugh in his face and walk off. But, we're a bit different. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, as I say, like having boundaries and being really clear on what
Hmm.
it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And if someone does say that and you are still kind of in your people pleasing era and you're not really sure how to handle it,
Hmm.
then, remove yourself from that situation and send them a very nice message when you get in, just saying, "Had a really lovely time, but I don't feel like we align. It's been
Yeah.
really nice getting to know you."
Mhm.
It's something kind, it's mature. You're saying how you feel. You're not saying you did this, you did that. You're literally just saying, this is how I feel, and
Mhm.
this is the way forward now. See you later.
Mm. I've got so many questions for you. Okay, sorry. The next one, because I feel like that was so powerful. How do you feel like you'd know when you're ready to date?
How do I feel like I know when I'm ready to date?
Or how
Good
would
question.
anyone feel like they would know when they're ready to date again? Like, let's say you've been through a really traumatic experience, you have recognized that that behavior was not right, and you've been, maybe doing a bit of work on yourself or reflecting. At what stage would you sort of have the signs that you're ready to get back out there?
So I think, yeah, as I say, feeling really secure in yourself. And
Mhm.
for me, to know that I was ready to date again was knowing that I kind of had the foundations of my life already kind of set. Because the man that's going to come into our life, he's only going to add value, and it's what is that value? Is he going to help you grow?
Mhm.
Is he gonna add to the life you've already created, or is he coming in? Is he trying to knock it down for you? And I think being really secure with the fact that, and this is another big thing, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but one of the biggest things that I learned that made me feel kind of knew I was ready is that I accepted that I might not ever find anyone. And I think that can scare a lot of people.
Mhm.
The thought of, like, and I know people that will listen to this will think, oh my God, like, gives people anxiety, like triggers them, I don't want to be alone forever. But I think that kind of acceptance allows you to kind of try and find success in other areas of your life,
Mhm.
and not just focus, because you don't die.
Yeah.
If you said no, I'm never going to meet anyone, your life doesn't end, your life still goes on.
Mhm.
um and I think, yeah, coming to the acceptance that you might not ever, you're okay with not being with anyone, because life is going to go on. You're going to have a good life regardless of that. And I think that is so, so, so important.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for people with certain attachment styles and trauma, etc., to kind of get to that place. It is quite the journey to get there. I would never dream of saying, I'm going to be alone forever and being absolutely okay with it. I used to say it all the time because I was a misery,
Yeah.
but now I'm just saying it like, yeah, like of course I would want to meet someone. I'm not being like hyper independent and I don't need a man and all that kind of stuff, but I'm
Mhm.
okay with however my life plans out, as long as I'm happy and as long as I'm putting myself first, and as long as I'm being myself.
Yeah, and it's like I can just relate so much, and I feel like every time we chat, it just takes me on my own sort of journey, going back to like the younger version of Yaz, because I didn't have any foundations in the other areas of my life. Like I was really, really unhappy before I went traveling in my life in the UK. So then when a guy would come along, I felt like they would become my life, and like I would try, impress all of their friends, all of their family, like be so involved in their life, and like I remember I'm my last boyfriend before I left. We met at a festival. Within a week, I was at his house. I'd slow cooked a curry for his whole family.
I love it though. I love it. I
And
get
I
it. I
brought
get
round
it.
this curry. Just like little things. Honestly, so funny. But like, because I didn't have the foundations, like the other areas of my life, like nothing was fulfilling me. So it was just like be all consuming. And then when you do go on that journey, when you do start to learn about yourself and decide, like, who do I want to be? What types of friends do I want? What do I want to try in my life? You just go on such a journey. And now, like, I've been single for 2 years now. And like you said, if I didn't meet anyone ever, the other areas of my life fill up my cup so much that cool, like I will have a
Yeah.
in life still. And I just feel like that was such an amazing point for so many people to look at. Like, what other areas of your life do you want to focus on while you're single as well? Because even for me, I'm like, yeah, someone will, pop up at some point maybe, but now that wouldn't affect my life. I probably wouldn't be with my slow cooker at their families within a week. Like,
Yeah, you wouldn't drop your business and everything.
no,
If a guy was to come in your life now, you wouldn't be like he wouldn't become your life. He is going to be
yeah,
add value to your life you've already created, and that's what's it's honestly so important. And it's funny because you just think how many girls have kind
yeah,
of adapted and molded themselves into expectations of a man. For example, like you thought by you being like that you were going
Yeah.
to get his validation, you're going to be accepted, and life was going to be lovely, but it's just in reality it doesn't work out like that.
Yeah, and I just think all of the hours as girls we spend like painting these pictures in our heads, like, let's say you're going on a weekend with a guy, you know, buying new outfits, making sure that you look amazing, you might get waxed, like all of that stuff, like just wanting to be this perfect person of yourself, and then a guy will rock up with like two pairs of boxers, same outfit for the weekend and not care. Like
Yeah, not bothered. Yeah,
yeah, but it's
yeah.
like, how can we actually just be comfortable in our skin and feel comfortable just actually just showing the real us? And it is just such a journey. And I feel like you are someone that is so inspiring and just really like just looking at your journey and everything you've been through your life, through your 30 years of trauma, of experiences, of like just so much for you to now be able to help other people and like have used everything that you've been through to change other people's lives is absolutely incredible. So it'd be lovely to hear some like last bits of advice you'd have for people that have resonated with this episode or have really connected with you as a person.
I think the last thing I want to say, and I just really hope that the girls can understand kind of why I'm saying this, but I feel that the experiences that we go through, the suffering that we go through, to me, I look at it now as a privilege. And I think that we are being given an opportunity to grow and develop and change. And every single women I work with, every single woman who's experienced things I've experienced, they all have the ability to change. And the people that have maybe put us down and made us feel like shit and made us feel this way in the first place, they don't have that privilege. They will never change, And the
Mm,
fact that we have this privilege where we can be better, we can oversee and be above those that have hurt us, like that's one of the most empowering things ever. And you will look back on these individuals that have hurt you in your life, and they will literally be nothing more than a piece of shit on your shoe. And honestly, it's honestly like to and I know it's difficult for some, when you're right now, if you're really amongst it. And there's been men in my life who are just like, they are my entire world and I will never get over them.
mm,
And I will do everything. But now I just look at them and I laugh and I just think, I am so much better than you. How dare you ever make me think that I'm less? And, that's where I would love, everyone to get to eventually and know that things can change and they will get better. And I 100% believe in you.
see, that was so powerful and so special. And I'm just like, I feel so empowered from this episode. And I just think I think this episode is going to take a lot of people on a journey within themselves. And I would love everyone to go and give Michelle a follow on Instagram. I'm going to leave her everything in the show notes so you can have a look there. Are you bringing anything out next year? Is there anything that excites you that people can follow along, or how would someone reach out if they've related to this episode and would like to work with you?
Yeah, so I am bringing out a couple of courses next year, very much around kind of boundary setting, a bit of education on why we struggle with boundaries, and also a separate course about triggers and our nervous system, which I'm really, really
Mm.
excited about because I used to see a lot about the nervous system, never really understood it.
Hmm.
And I really want to explain it in a lot of detail and just have something there so people can they're going to be was it self,
Self
can't think of the
talk.
word, self-taught courses, yeah. And then I also have my 12-week program as well, which it's that's what I do, my coaching. So yeah, if you need any support, please feel free to reach out, just message me on Instagram and I will definitely get back to you.
Yay! I'll also get Michelle to send me the link to her one-to-one coaching because we can just pop that straight in the show notes. Because I just feel like there is no time like the present. Like if you've resonated with this episode and you know that you need that support, then I guarantee Michelle will be there to help you. Like she will, she wants you. We both want you to get the help, and I
Yes.
couldn't like picture anyone better to support you on this journey. She's the most empowering, and I just think that the experiences you've been through, like you can't always teach the experiences, like you connect with people a deeper level. So I'm so grateful for you coming on today. Thank you everyone for listening. I think it's just been a very special episode, close to my heart. So thank you,
Thank you
Rachel.
so much. Thank you.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode on the Your Girl Yaz podcast. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7 a.m. UK time, so I look forward to seeing you back here. I also have a free higher self meditation course for you to learn to meditate, to relax, to switch off, that's available for you to access now in the show notes. And also, don't forget to follow the podcast wherever you're listening, rate, leave us a review. I appreciate it way more than you could ever know. Thank you so much again for listening. If you've got any feedback of the podcast, my Instagram at Yasmin Lily Hilston is also linked in the show notes, and I really appreciate it.